Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to be sharing the top 6 must-have Mac apps that changed how I use my Mac on a day-to-day basis. And at the end, I'm going to be showing you my favorite one, so make sure to stick around. But without further ado, let's jump right in, shall we? Alright, so the first app is called Alfred, and it's basically a replacement for Spotlight Search. So if I type something in, it'll find it. Alfred has this really cool feature that Spotlight doesn't have. If you press the spacebar and then type in the name of the folder, it'll actually pull it up for you, opposed to clicking Finder and then finding whatever app you're looking for. Another great way to use Alfred is opening apps. Alright, so if you're a normal person, you'd probably go down to the dock, then click the app, or click the launch pad and then click on the app. However, that really slows you down. In Alfred, if you type in the first letter of the name, it'll find it right away and you can click the enter key, you're in. But what I use Alfred for the most is actually searching. Instead of opening your browser and then typing in whatever you want to type in, you can actually just open Alfred with Option spacebar or Command spacebar, and then start typing your question or whatever you want to look up, and then click enter and it'll open it up in your default browser, which is a really cool feature. Alright, the next app is called Arc. I've started shying away from Safari and using Arc because it's such a great browser. My favorite feature is the tab management. I just find it way more aesthetically pleasing than having all your tabs up in the top of the browser, and in Arc, it's just this really neat and minimal little sidebar that you can actually make for it to disappear. And I love the fact when you actually make it go away, you have the full window without any interruptions like Safari. In addition, there's a dedicated button to close all the tabs at once. At the top, there's space to pin your favorite websites, kind of like Safari. And at the bottom of the page, there's a little selection menu for things like media. And it's basically like a little built-in finder. And actually, you can preview stuff, which is pretty cool. There's also a downloads thing, which is much nicer than Safari. You've also got Spaces, which is basically a space designed to help organize by grouping tabs and pinned sites. Think of it as a desktop for your browser. And at the bottom, you have a window for archived tabs, which is basically bookmarks, but it actually kind of makes sense. Another cool feature in Arc is if you hover your mouse over one of the search results, it gives you a little AI written overview. I'm yet to switch fully to Arc, but I'm working on it. The next app is called Al Dente. So basically what it does is it sits in the menu bar and regulates how many percent your MacBook charges up to. If, for example, you have a MacBook and you charge it overnight for school or work, you can set a charge limit to like 70 or 80%. Why would you charge it to 70 and 80%, you might ask? Well, basically if you care about the battery health of the computer, which you should, not charging the device to 100% prolongs battery. So basically in the long run, you don't have to hand over a wad of cash to Apple to replace your battery. But the way I use Al Dente is I use my MacBook in clamshell mode, and the computer needs to be charging to be in clamshell mode. I basically set the limit to 80%, so the monitor stops charging and frying my battery. Alright, moving on, the next app is called Dropover. I've been playing with it for the past few days, and it's really useful because it acts as like a little clipboard for files. If you have a file that you need to move to another folder, you can open up Dropover and put the file in Dropover. Then you can navigate to the folder where you're putting the file, drag and drop, and you're done. And the cool thing is that you can actually put multiple files in Dropover, so you don't have to move the file, then go to the other folder, reopen it, and do that a whole bunch of times. Moving on to the next app. This app is completely free and doesn't even require a download because it comes pre-installed with macOS Sequoia. And it's none other than the Passwords app. In the Passwords app, you have the ability to store passwords, passkeys, Wi-Fi passcodes, and more. And all of it's in this one app that's optimized for macOS and other Apple products really well. Another cool feature that I forgot to mention in the Passwords app is it can show passwords that have been compromised. So yeah, Okay, so last but not least, my personal favorite app, Notion. Alright, so the first reason I like it is you can actually add emojis at the top of the document or next to the name of the document, which will pop up in the sidebar. I also love that it has a bunch of built-in templates, but not your standard boring ones. Notion has templates for work, life, and school, and they actually look really good, unlike the ones in Docs, for example. Also, a new feature in Notion, well, it's actually not that new because I think it came out in February 2023, which was a few months after I started using Notion. This update brought Notion AI. So Notion AI can generate, summarize, and help improve text inside Notion. It can also help with brainstorming, writing, and organization. Alright, and that's it. These apps have totally changed how I use my Mac on a day-to-day basis, or made life easier while using it. If you like any of them, go ahead and download them for yourself. It'll definitely improve your experience using your machine. That's it for me. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.